Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Spyderco Delica, a knife that is way past time for me to review, but I wanted to go ahead and do it anyway. This is an exclusive version from the Fradon lock company. They have their own exclusive versions of a couple of knives. They really actually have some interesting versions of some knives. There's a 4V saber grind, I believe Manix, with marble carbon fiber that's pretty interesting, and I think they have a couple others as well. But this version really caught my eye, and I figured if I'm going to get a Delica, I should get this. This did go on sale a while ago for about $100. I think it was $103 or something, $104. But now it is $125. It's no longer on sale, but we'll get to some of the price and the other things later in the video. But we'll talk about both the regular version of this and the exclusive version. So let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. And I want you to pay particular attention to the Para 3 here. We're going to do some people said the angles are a little bit confusing sometimes, the perspective, because I don't have a direct overhead cam, so I'm going to reverse those for you a little bit so you can see both the size angles. But I want you to pay particular attention to the Para 3 and the size comparison there, because that will be important later. Let's go ahead and look at the Spyderco Shaman and the Spyderco AD-20. And how about the Benchmade 940? The Benchmade Bugout. And let's do the TRM Atom. And let's just do one more with the CRKT, what is this, the LCK. All right. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is that this is not the regular version. The regular version of the Delica is in VG10, and it has FRN scales, plastic scales, and runs about $84. Now traditionally, I think these were priced originally in like the high 60s, like $67 or so. And this was the best budget knife, or the best knife for the money, I should say, on the market for quite a while. This and the Endura. The Endura is a larger knife. As you guys know, I prefer larger knives. I've had an Endura before. And I'll tell you right now, I do prefer the Endura to the Delica, but people who prefer smaller knives will definitely prefer the Delica to the Endura. Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things with this knife. So first of all, this version of the knife is an excellent version. If you're going to get a Delica and you can get a deal on it, I think that this version of the knife is probably the best one you can get. I really like HAP40. HAP40 is a tool steel, and so this is a HAP40 in SUS410. I don't know if you can see that there. Let's see if the camera picks it up. There you go. So Spyderco HAP40 and SUS410. So SUS410 is the stainless steel, I believe. And what you have here is a sandwich where the middle layer of the steel is the HAP40, and the SUS410 goes around it. And so you see the line that goes across there. It's a laminate line. And what you're seeing is everything above that line is the SUS410 forming an envelope around the HAP40, and you're leaving the bottom of the edge exposed, the HAP40, because that is the cutting edge, and you want to make sure that the cutting edge is exposed, or the HAP40 from the cutting edge is exposed, since it's going to hold its edge. So yeah, this is, I love the steel choice on this. It's an excellent steel, combination steel choice. And I really like the carbon fiber on here. It's smooth carbon fiber. I don't love smooth carbon fiber on a lot of larger knives because I feel like you can slip off a little bit. It doesn't offer the best grip. And it is one of the reasons that I ended up trading away my my Spyderco Shaman in S90V and carbon fiber. Even though I really love that knife, at the end of the day, I have another Shaman, and I decided that the carbon fiber was a little too slick for me. But that being said, this carbon fiber is fine because the bulk of your grip you're getting is from the shape of the knife rather than from the actual scales here, because of the fact that the handle is a little bit smaller. So You know, I don't think it's as much of an issue on this one. The carbon fiber feels good here. I definitely like it better than the bidirectional texturing on the FRN, which, you know, it definitely helps with grip, but it does come off feeling a little cheap sometimes, at least in my opinion. And so I really think that this selection of carbon fiber here is great. The fit and finish on here is very good. You can see there's a little bit of fit issues right there. When it's closed, it doesn't really have those issues, but when it's open, you can see there's a little separation there. And so there is a little bit of issue there. But other than that, the fit is great. The finishing is great on this. And I have to say I'm very impressed with the overall build quality of this knife. The ergonomics on this knife are good. I won't say great, especially with the Para 3 that I mentioned earlier. So the Para 3 definitely is an upgrade in ergonomics over the Delica for a couple of reasons, even though they're similarly sized knives. One reason is that the curvature of the handle itself is more ergonomic, but then you also have this finger choil that you can choke up on and get a lot of nice grips on. And so the Para 3, I think, is overall more ergonomic, and it's also a little bit thicker of a knife. That being said, the thinness of this knife is definitely one of its good features for pocket presence. So the pocket profile of this knife, of the Delica, is overall pretty small. It's not the smallest. For example, you can see the Bugout, a similarly sized knife, has a smaller pocket profile in this dimension, and you know the 940/943 is going to be a lot thinner as well. But overall, even though it's taller in this dimension, it's going to be a lot thinner than things like the 943 as well. So it really, you don't notice it that much when it's in your pocket, and that's a good thing. Like I said, the ergonomics are good. The blade shape on this is excellent. It's one of the, it's just, there's enough of a flat here. It leads up to a slight belly, and it's a really good slicer. Excellent slicer. The stock is nice and thin, you know, compares with the Benchmade Bugout, which also has thin stock. It's probably about the same stock size, so this is really a great slicer. And so all of these things have contributed over the years to the Delica just being one of the most highly regarded knives out there. All right, and so what's bad about it? So a couple of things. Like I said, it doesn't have that finger choil. I would like to see that. The pocket clip is a little large for the size of the knife. Benchmade sort of gets it when it comes to putting a smaller pocket clip on a knife this size. And they also get it when it comes to doing a deep carry clip versus versus a regular carry clip for a knife this size. I do think a deep carry is more helpful for a knife this size. So I would like to see sort of a mini deep carry clip on the Delica. Would be nicer. The pocket clip is a little bit of a hot spot as well, especially right here for me. But overall, I think it's okay. And so that's just something to think about as well. The backlock is definitely an older technology on an older locking technology. It's extremely strong, but you're not going to get fidget factor out of this. That being said, you can sort of make your own fidget factor out of this by sort of just opening it and closing it in this fashion. And I tend to fidget with it in that way when I'm looking for something to do and fidget with my knives. I do value the fidget factor, and this has it a little bit, but not nearly as much as something like the compression lock, or you know, where the Spidey flicking is fun. You can still Spidey flick this knife, but at times you're going to have that happen. And so, you know, if I'm not on camera, I can do a better job of Spidey flicking this like that. But it's not going to happen 100% of the time, and you sort of have to think about it when you're doing it here. Whereas on a Para 3, you don't think about it at all, it just comes flying out. So definitely something to think about if you are a fan of the fidget factor. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the price. The price on this, like I said, this one's $125. I think it's a little high for a Delica. You can get a regular Para 3. This is the Maximate version, but you can get the regular Para 3 for about $112. And so you can either get an upgraded Delica or a regular Para 3 for even cheaper than this version of the Delica. But at $104, this is actually a great deal, which is I think what I got it for. And if you're into the Delica and something in size, then I think that it's an excellent choice, this particular version of it. However, the regular version of it with the FRN and VJ10, I don't think is any more a good deal at $84. You know, when it was 67, and if it was still 67, I'd probably say that's still a good deal. But at $84, the types of steels companies have been using have surpassed VG10 at that price range. You guys saw the Kershaw Link that I had in 20 CV for $80. That is cheaper than than a regular Delica in VG10. And so to be able to get aluminum and 20 CV rather than FRN and VG10, you know, you can just tell that, you know, Kershaw's giving the better value at that price range. The other thing is, you know, the regular Delica is made in Seki City. I don't know if this one is as well. Yeah, this one is also Seki City, but so that's the Japan factory. So whereas the Kershaw Link in 20 CV is going to be made in the American factory. So neither one of the knives, the Kershaw Link, which is assisted, or this knife, which is a backlock, have a ton of Fidget Factor. But you definitely get way better materials in the Kershaw Link, which I just reviewed recently. So just something to think about from a value perspective. Also something to think about from a value perspective is the Golden Colorado US-made S30V version of the Para 3. It's about $112 now. That's not that much more. It's less than a tank of gas more than the Delica at $84. And so if you are going to get a Delica, I just think the Para 3 offers so much more than the Delica does. And then you also got the Spyderco Chapparal, which I don't have, but I've handled. And the Chapparal, you know, gives you a much better steel. I think it's XHP. It also has the FRN, and it has an even slicier blade that's only minimally shorter than this. And that's I think I think it's $91 or something like that. So frankly, both the Spyderco Chapparal and the Para 3 within its own lineup make this a bad value. Not this particular version, but the regular version. I don't think the $84 is a good value anymore. I'm not saying the Delica's not a good knife. It's still a great knife, but the value proposition has suffered immensely. And then when you combine that with what the overseas overseas makers are doing, CJRB with the Centros, $35 for D2 steel and bearings. You know, you've got the Civivi Praxis, which I love, which has the 9CR, which is a better steel than the 8CR, you know, and then you got Kershaw and everything, and all these brands, Kershaw, the US made Kershaws, all these brands are doing better things, I think, at this price range than Spyderco is. When you get to the step up past that range into the Para 3 range, then Spyderco sort of takes back over as being one of the better manufacturers in the game. I think they need to push the value or push the price down on the Delica to make it a contender again. I think it still could be a contender. Spyderco, I think, just needs to recognize the value proposition in the markets today, and I think it'll tend to shift that way as time goes on with Spyderco. But for now, they've continued to raise prices because company-wide, they're still able to sell their knives, and I don't think people have caught on yet. The Delica isn't a great value proposition anymore. So that's my 2 cents. You know, I probably get a little bit of hate down below for going on this rant about the Delica, but I have to be real with you guys. I have to talk the truth. And that's all I have to say. If you guys enjoyed this, felt this was helpful to you, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get all my content. As for whether I'd recommend this knife overall, if you're looking for something that has all the features here, yes, I do recommend it, but there are other better options at the price. Thanks so much for watching.